that Brit art, as a phase, has almost come to an end, that the individuals associated with it have, in almost all cases, exhausted the energy and the innovation which they brought to modern British art. And the other thing that I would say, which means that I'm perhaps a little less grief-stricken than others, is that much of the work, and I do accept the point about Patrick Heron, Paul O'Regan, much of the work, the conceptual work, is not the sort of work which, once it's gone, we've lost, because in a sense it was the idea rather than its realisation that helped influence our aesthetic world. And we're now in a position where someone like Damien Hirst essentially gets technicians to implement his idea. So the fact that we've actually lost one manifestation of it doesn't matter so much.
Well, two of the artists in the Garda Vida exhibition, Damien Hirst solely because they lost work in the blaze. That point, Germaine, which many people are putting, that because of the way their art is done, the idea being more important than the craft done by others, the loss matters less. Is that a valid argument?
It's a very curious argument. I couldn't care less what happened to dot paintings. But on the other hand, the loss of hell is a huge loss.
By Jake and Dinos Chapman.
By Jake and Dinos Chapman. And I thought it was amazing in a way, but I know them, so I wasn't surprised, that they said, oh, it's just art. We'll do some more, because that's much more a woman's attitude.
But that's great to their credit, because they'd always said that art was disposable,
that's right.
And challenged with it, they, at least publicly, they stuck to that view.
Yes, but you see, the thing is, it raises all those questions, because now we're talking value. What was the value of those pieces? In fact, they couldn't be replaced, and they shouldn't. There should be no attempt to replace them. So what has to happen is the insurers have to give Saatchi and Shirley Conran and the other people whose property has been destroyed money to buy some more art, which sounds like a good idea, except that in fact the insurance of artwork is one of the reasons why it got locked up in the first place, because it's too dangerous to leave it lying around. At least that's the argument. So whenever you want to put on a travelling show in the provinces, in come the insurers with massive premiums that they want you to pay, knowing perfectly well that nothing will happen to the pictures. Right up to now, it's been money for old rope insuring paintings. Now all of a sudden, it's come full circle, and they're going to be trying to offload onto Momart, saying that they didn't take the right precautions and da-da-da. And so we're going to find a very interesting argument now about the real value of art, because it was never worth that kind of money to the people who made it. So now we're going to have to unpick the whole rather unsavoury business.
That's one of the questions that will arise. Tim Lott, it's been a curious week. I can't ever remember a case where a serious blaze which has threatened several businesses and people's livelihoods has led to jokes and laughing articles in the newspapers. It is strange, isn't it?
Well, it's not surprising. I mean, I think the sort of level of hatred that sort of elements of the tabloid press have for modern art generally, it's probably the most predictable thing in the world in many ways. Having said that, I think there's something odd. I mean, I'm a great fan of Brit art, but I do sort of rather take their point in a way, you know, in a sense, in a movement that's made so much of ephemerality, you know, who've made so much of disposability. So then, I mean, I greatly admire Jake and Dinos Chapman for making what was really the only possible response for their art anyway, and I think it probably applies to, I mean, Tracy Ullman called it a great national cultural tragedy, which I think is laying it on a little bit too thick. It's a shame, and it's certainly a shame for the artists themselves, and I think Patrick Heron's family losing 50 paintings is actually terrible, you know, and I think that's much more...
That is the real artistic tragedy, but as you say, it's so complicated, because had this fire not happened and had Jake and Dinos Chapman announced we're going to burn hell, everyone would be sitting around saying,
these people who deface Goya paintings, you know, I mean, it's within the whole spirit of the thing in a way that stuff burning down, and I feel it's sad, but it's also kind of appropriate in a way, and it will add in a strange way to the gravitas of that art somehow, because it will reduce the stock and the prices will go up as everyone gets banging on about it.
It's a very pop culture thing to die young and then be made more famous and loved by it.
We're going to have to move on from the history of art to the art of history. Alan Bennett is one of the few British writers to have kept